when it happens. Hi everyone, good evening and welcome to another episode of Melissa's Tabletop Talk. And this evening we've got another special guest because our topic for today is presenting with confidence. And who else better to teach us about that than the presentation coach himself, Joe Augustin.
Well, hi. First of all, I want to apologize for those of you who got used to the momentum of this channel. I won't be talking about sex.
Hey, it was just 2 episodes.
It's just 2 episodes in a row, which I couldn't watch in front of my kids.
I'm sorry. But I think it was about, having a healthy discussion, as I've mentioned so many times, and I did put there M18. It just so happened in terms of scheduling that the 2 of them were just free week after week, back to back. Not my fault.
Well, yes. I mean, look, I'm glad to be the guy after the orgasmic women. It's just a great chance to be the guy who follows them.
Yeah, and he's not talking about anything taboo. This is totally PG-13.
We hope.
Yes, we hope.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Is that kind of presentation we're talking about? Yes.
Okay, now I'm worried. Okay. Anyway, so we were talking about presentation and how it affects self-confidence, right?
How it affects self-confidence? Well, I mean, most people kind of works the other way around, right? Most people think self-confidence is going to affect the presentation.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that the more and more you do presentations, you're going to find actually your self-confidence builds.
Correct.
So, I'm sure you've been that person as well, right?
Yes.
You've started off having to tell your idea to someone for the first time.
Yeah.
And that first time you're probably like really nervous and jittery and everything.
Yeah.
And the more and more you do it, the easier it kind of becomes. I mean, that's really it. So getting good at presentations really does help build the self-confidence.
So do you think that everyone needs to learn presentation skills?
Well, as a presentation coach, Melissa, I must say,
you in there.
Absolutely yes. Well, one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because I've been doing radio and TV for 25 years. I've been doing MCing for an equal duration, and during the time, I do so many of the live shows, and I've seen hundreds of presentations as well at these live shows, and I've seen an almost equal number of bad presentations. So for me, the thing about Singapore is that we tend to be really good at doing things, but we're terrible at telling people that we're good at doing things.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or we are really bad at just even saying what the idea is. Right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Or if we have a really good idea, and I mean, okay, I've seen both sides. Some who are really, really good at presentation, but they're just all hot air.
Right.
And I've also seen, but most of it, as
Hello, Donald Trump.
Hey, no politics. But I agree with you.
Well, I'm going to be quite controversial actually in terms of because as I coach and I talk about the people who've been successful, Donald Trump is a really good example of someone who does a lot of the stuff right for good presentations.
How so?
Well, I mean, okay. The thing about the hands, you notice that when you hear Donald Trump talk about things, you'll see his hands come into and talks about. It's actually he's doing something which is, I mean, it's not the most sophisticated version of it, but he's showing you his palms. And if you notice, he's also very aware of the framing of the screen. So he's presenting and he's aware that he's on a camera, and his hands come into frame as he talks. Now, you don't really notice what's going on. You don't consciously go like, oh, I can see his hands. But in those moments when he does that and you see the open palms, part of your mind goes, oh, okay, he's not hiding anything.
Oh, so it's a subconscious thing. So what about, I've heard about some psychologists saying that, if you have what they call this triangle thing when you present, it also goes to show that, you are presenting something important and what's the psychology behind this thing?
Okay. There are a lot of gestures that I've kind of formed, I guess, around society as well. So this thing is called the steeple.
Oh yes.
Right, and it comes from the religious background. So you notice that amongst the religious people, praying. I mean, you talk about things of higher wisdom and all that. So this comes in. So when you're doing a presentation. The people who say this, that when you use this gesture, you are kind of like sort of using the same strength of that symbol, the symbolism of it being really important and being, almost religious-like, right? So you'll see a few of these if you watch like Steve Jobs's presentations, especially when he's talking about something that's really very cool. So that happens. So that kind of emphasizes it as well. But my advice is you got to be careful about this, because I think too many times people will use like these power symbols. This is actually it's quite a power symbol.
Okay.
But you'll be saying things like, I think our bubble tea is very good. So
I think
too much power.
I think our presentation here is very good.
Yeah, I'm trying to share a few things here.
Yeah. So okay, let's go back to say someone who is really, really shy.
Yeah.
They call themselves an introvert, and how can they break out of this shell? What are the first few steps that they should take in order to, build their self-esteem and therefore be able to present themselves better?
Well, here's the thing about being an introvert. People find it hard to believe that I am an introvert.
High five.
Okay.
I'm an introvert too. Nobody believes that.
Yeah, no, and this is the thing about what I'm doing is I'm speaking a second language, and I've learned, because what introverts do is we sit around in the corner and we observe things.
Correct.
And we try and figure out as much information as possible, and we try to figure out the jigsaw puzzle without even touching the jigsaw puzzle. And so what I've done over the years is I've been following I've been watching really great presentations. I've been investing in good information and knowledge from different gurus in radio as well as the movie world. And that's basically led me to find out a lot about what makes good presentations. And then I've had to force myself to speak this extrovert language. Like one of the things that you're seeing right now, which is unusual for an introvert, is to even look at the camera. I mean, it's unlike an introvert to be looking down the camera, to be aware of the camera. The second thing that's happening is you see my eyebrows going up and down as well. It's part of the extrovertish behavior that helps in this medium.
People can't see my eyebrows now because of my fringe.
Right. And then there's the hands. Like again, we talked about the hands a while ago. I work on radio.
Correct.
Right? So same. Right, if I was on radio, but because this is video and this is people out there, they're gonna feel better when there's something like this happening.
I see.
Yeah.
So that is how I was about to ask you. Like, did you feel that because you had a radio background, that it's easier for you to transition to be an MC and then learn how to present on stage and there was time for you to ease yourself into it rather than. I'm sure there are a lot of people in school who are really shy, and they are kind of forced to stand in front of the whole class, like 40 pairs of eyes staring at you, and you have to present.
Well, I mean that's first of all really horrifying. I mean that moment when you're being cast in front of everybody else. What we're doing right now, just taking behind the scenes, we're trying to get ourselves on Facebook, and trying to use my phone. To find our video feed. Are we actually live, or are we just talking to ourselves in this room right now? Okay.
We are live, but we need to, please ask questions.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's really tiny. The camera is a bit far from us. That's why we're using Joe's phone to see. But I see somebody saying hi.
So we're spreading the word. You're live. This may take a minute.
Oh, Jordan says hi.
Yeah, that's my son. And the reason I can do that is because I have this incredible vision. I can see that far. It's kind of bizarre. I
know, right?
Yeah.
You are like the next
Maybe I'll just have to use that and use that as our chat. I'll just read what's happening on the screen. So we're talking about
shy teenagers forced to present.
Yeah. When I was first on radio, I think radio happened first, and then someone. They always have somebody who wants to get a radio guy to do a show, and for me, I was thinking, okay, well, I want to try doing that, so I kind of put myself in that role. It wasn't the first time that I went in front of a live audience.
Okay.
I think I've always had these illusions of grandeur, and I used to travel by Royal Brunei Airlines and Singapore Airlines, between Singapore and Brunei. And the big highlight was to listen to those stand-up comedians do their thing. So I would listen to the comedy channel, and then I had to tolerate like another hour of jazz in between because they always share the channel. But I would love.
Not bad,
I know, but you just, it's not quite as funny, But I really used to enjoy those, and then I would memorize the skits, and then, that was the first thing. I began to sort of recite them, not to anybody in particular, but I would just kind of know them. And then when I was in JC, there was this thing with the AV club. The AV club is the club that's in charge of all the audio equipment, the audio and visual equipment, which back in the old days was basically just audio equipment, because not much budget for video, right? And then it came to this mass dance, like in the second year, mass dance, and there's a microphone and there's people dancing, and there's this opportunity to try something out to see whether or not I can use my voice on the microphone. I tried a few things. I encouraged people to scream, yell, jump, and whatever and all that. And lo and behold, you look down and people are doing it. So you go like, okay.
It sounds a little bit like drama class, right? Are you forcing? Just to bring it back to my own experience, how I said I was very, very shy, and when was in primary school, I still can remember primary 1, I didn't even dare to take a photo, like this class photo. I was that shy.
Okay.
And I was always doing this, trying to cover myself.
Right.
But how I broke out of my shell was because I've always admired actors on stage.
Okay.
And so when the chance came to be on stage, and to me it was like it's a group effort thing, because
Right.
I'm not alone on stage. I've got a lot of people along with me, right?
Okay.
And that's how I kind of broke out of my shell and learned how to present.
Okay.
Ironically, from a group thing, it became like one person. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So safety in numbers is starting you off.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what advice do you have for people like, I had really low self-esteem. Like I can imagine a lot of young children also have the same thing, they're shy. So what is your best advice to them?
Okay, esteem is something you've got to build. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, it is something you got to build, and I would say what you do is you invest in it, and look for stuff that you can feel that you're good at. Because when I was growing up, I literally would find something new and try to get good at it, and I just found that when I got good at something, I felt better about myself in respect to that. And I would pick something up, try it, be good at it, and then I move on and try something else. I also found that one of the ways of kind of helping esteem is, if something really isn't working, then don't keep knocking your head against the wall. I think some things maybe you're not prepared for right then, and if you judge yourself based on this high bar that you go into, so like a lot of people, for instance, they try, they think about stand-up comedy and they think about being funny, right?
Yeah.
And they say, and people always being encouraging, say, just go ahead, just try. And that's the worst advice possible for my mind,
Okay.
right? Because if you talk about comedy, that is tough. That is really tough.
Yes.
And I've done it. I've done stand-up comedy, and I think it's tough, right? But when you're approaching that challenge of stand-up comedy, you're not just trying to get the words out. You're actually, trying to get people to laugh in a certain way and react in a certain way, and it's at a skill level which is really quite staggering. Yeah, it's staggering. So you're literally comparing yourself to the highest. So the moment you try something like stand-up comedy, you're going up thinking about yourself in terms of Jerry Seinfeld or Ellen DeGeneres, and when you fail, you don't fail just as the person who's trying out the first time. You fail versus Ellen, versus Seinfeld. And that kind of failure, look, honestly, not good for self-esteem.
Correct.
Right? So when it comes to self-esteem, start with things that
Baby steps.
yeah, you can get good at. So try some stuff, not so challenging. One of the examples I'm going to use actually is jigsaw puzzles. Right? So
Interesting.
start when kids start out with jigsaw puzzles, you don't make them feel good about jigsaw puzzles. You start them on really small, uncomplex ones. You don't give them the 1,000-piece, one color.
Double-sided.
Double-sided. And of course, if your kid solves that, then you've got something else going there. But most often, you try to start off with something simpler.
Yeah.
You feel good, and then you stretch yourself by going to the next level. So yeah, self-esteem. You have to invest in it. Yeah.
I see. So when you say invest, besides taking baby steps to present, what else can they so-called invest when it comes to presentation? I mean, we are always presenting ourselves, right? Be it when we talk about presentation, it's not just standing on stage or standing in front of board of directors. Sometimes I feel that presentation is just even like when you are going to meet someone. Like if I met you for the first time and I just went, hi.
True story, by the way.
I tricked him actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the thing that I really feel is a problem, and this is my maybe controversial view, by the way, Singapore is we believe way too much in meritocracy. As in, you should accept me on the merit of who I am, on the merit of what I've done, and so I actually have to work less at presenting myself. So
Really?
if I'm someone who's the all A's student, right? I feel that because we value that so much, we don't value as much the other kind of social graces that maybe some other cultures do. So because of that, we end up just taking it for granted that I'm smart. I'm going to be in this class. So you have all these the geeks all gather together, and they don't have to work so hard to try and prove themselves to each other because everybody's just like I kind of know your worth and that's it.
But do you think, okay, besides the fact you say that it's meritocracy,
Yeah.
The way I interpret it is because it's again an Asian humility thing. Like we've always been told by our seniors as well as our teachers and our parents that you must be humble. Don't be so arrogant. Don't be proud. Even if you've done like say you've gotten 95, why didn't you get 99 or 100 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And of course, it's again, you're not supposed to boast, and that's why people don't shout out their accomplishments.
Well, I think what happens is we conflate. I may be using the wrong word here, but we take that advice, we take that humility, and we say that therefore we're not going to present ourselves. But I think if you look at the cultures and you talk about these ancient cultures and say about how you're going to be humble and all that, but they still also appreciate beauty, right? They like the ornate designs, the elegance. There's still something that's being presented. So I think what happens is people maybe overcompensate. There's this thing I talk about when you oversteer. When you think, okay, I need to be doing this, so I need to be a little bit humble. You just go all the way down, and I am not worthy, right?
Okay.
So I think people build on that, and then they see that they because no one has any idea. Because honestly, we don't teach this. In school. We don't have show and tell, at least for most of the schools, they don't have show and tell, and therefore you don't get that kind of practice. And I think you've probably heard of Malcolm Gladwell's thing about the outliers.
Yes.
10,000 hours. Yeah. It's all about opportunity, and there's a reason why out of I think American schools. There tends to be a number of people who can do presentations, so pretty good at doing that kind of stuff, because they've had the opportunity. They've been doing it over and over again, and that's why it becomes easier.
Yeah, which is why I know a few professors or teachers who have taught in American schools and universities, and what they say is pretty opposite of what teachers in Singapore say, which is, these people present very well, they talk a lot, but there's no foundation. So how can we balance that out then?
Start by being an introvert.
Hey, that is an inborn thing.
You see, this is the challenge that I would say faces the world. So there are a lot of people who are really good at catching people's attention and bringing you in, and it's a primal instinct. It actually ties into a very simple part of your brain. A long time ago, we needed to stay alive at all costs. We were always looking for predators and looking for food, all of which was represented by movement and sound, right? So all this stuff and sound, right? That is basically triggering off your brain to be interested. That's the core of it. So when you're doing some good presenting, just from a physical language point of view, you're triggering all kinds of reactions to someone who's paying more attention. So like if we just stop like this and start talking this way for a while, I mean, people are actually falling asleep, literally, right now. Because
Nobody's
nothing
watching.
is happening. So little things, little things like that make a difference. So you're right. There are going to be a number of people who are very good at putting together stuff that's sort of interesting.
Okay.
But I think there are three levels of it. There is someone who absolutely has no content at all, and that would be someone like Donald Trump, when he's interviewed just coming off the plane in a new environment, where he's being asked a question he has no idea about. So he can just rattle off a few things. This is why when you see him like coming out when he was in Scotland, right? He managed to sort of he sort of, what's the word for it when you contradict? Yeah, he contradicted himself within the same sentence. From the time he started the sentence to the end of the sentence, he had gone to both sides of the argument. Because he hadn't thought of that content, but it sounded very interesting, and people thought, "Wow, here's a guy who sounds like he knows what he's talking about," right? But it doesn't bear transcribing. You go like, this doesn't quite make sense, right? Then there's a kind of a middle ground, which is where people kind of have a little bit of the language skills involved, but they're not showy enough, right?
Okay.
So they don't know how to emphasize and do some things to just make certain things more important. Like what I'm doing right now is I'm talking about, yeah.
Chop chop.
All right. Nothing happened there. We just went off air for a while, right?
Yeah.
So like these gestures, for instance, that emphasize that something is true. So like when someone is emphasizing that these emails, they're suspicious. We have to investigate. Your mind is being triggered into that mode, going, something serious, something very important is being said there. So if someone is able to understand body language and significance of different body language cues and combine that in sync with what they're saying, then you have a whole new level of presentation. Yeah.
So you teach people or you coach people how to present, right? So top 5 tips first before. Just top 5 tips
Top
first.
5 tips?
Yes.
Okay.
For a lay person.
For a layperson. Okay, well, the first tip is start. Okay, start presenting. If you want to learn how to ride a bicycle, well, start. Just get on a bicycle first and go for it. 2, remember that you are new, right?
Okay.
So if you're new, then you're going to start thinking of yourself in terms of someone who's brand new. So I find that people who realize that, hey, if I'm doing this for the first time, I shouldn't be expecting myself to do really great. So disappointment level is low. Okay. 3rd, keep it short. If you want to start with presenting, don't try and tell me this huge story of how the Lord of the Rings works, and then there's a subplot of this and that, whatever it is. Start with something short. Points 1, 2, and 3. Try and get it across, and that's your practice run. Number 4 is practice. You need to keep doing it over and over again. So I'm a student of many people. Guy Kawasaki.
You will smoothly transition.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So we just disconnected for a while, but I've seen Guy Kawasaki, who was the chief evangelist for Apple for quite a while.
Yep.
And so he worked closely with Steve Jobs as well. And Steve Jobs, as Guy Kawasaki says, Steve freaking Jobs, right? Really great pitchman, really knows his stuff, and he practices for 2 days before you see what you see on those Mac expos, right?
Yep.
So if you think about someone at that level practicing as often as he does, then what do you think we owe ourselves if we want to have a good presentation? All right.
Brings back to like what Malcolm Gladwell wrote in Outliers, right? It's like 10,000 hours you keep practicing and practicing and practicing.
Yeah.
And I think even Pablo Picasso was saying that how he drew a simple picture and he charged like $1,000 for it.
Yeah.
Although it took him a minute to draw it, but it actually was years of experience and practice in that sense.
Yeah. And so I'm still counting my fingers here. So we have point 5. Okay. Start with things you know, right?
Okay.
It always is easier when you're familiar with the material.
Yep.
So if you're trying to sell somebody else's business or whatever it is, that's going to be really tough. Start with the simple things like what's my hobby, why I like so and so, or why this particular football club is the best in the world, whatever it is. As long as it's something that's more, personal to you and you know about it, that's going to be a great way. Those were actually 5 I just came up with on the spur of the moment. I actually,
Because I didn't give him any questions
Yeah.
to prepare.
she's so good at helping me to prepare.
I
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
because I want you guys to catch him off guard, and that's
Yeah.
why it's live, right? So we're gonna get questions. Hopefully, I'm hinting to you guys right now, please ask questions. But my audience tend to be a bit shy, I don't know why.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, that's why I'm always asking the questions, and so he's just finished giving 5 tips that he came up from the top of his head. And just to repeat, because it's live, 1, you're saying just get started.
Yeah.
And do you advise people to write down what they're going to present? Do the whole in the mirror thing.
Okay.
Hi, I am so and so.
Well, I haven't told someone to do that, but I'm not going to say that's a bad thing. I think it's all in there with getting started. So however you decide it's going to start, that's the way it starts, right?
Okay.
So some people, when they start, they're to hear or get used to the sound of their voice sits in the bathroom,
When they're singing.
Well, you might be singing or you might be orating, thinking you're giving some kind of great speech because your voice sounds really good in the bathroom.
That is true.
Yeah, but that's the way it works. Resonance, it feels better, and that's good for your self-esteem, right?
Yeah. So why do you think presentation is so key in, building the self-esteem, in the sense that there are some people who will just say that I just cannot present, and it's true. They just can't present that well.
Yeah.
But why do you think that they feel so bad about not being able to present?
Because, and this is only my theory, that they feel it's the thing that's keeping them away from the next level of success. I do contend that you do not have to be good at presentations to have self-esteem. I mean, I'm not asking you to turn off the feed right now and say, okay, therefore I won't.
Nope.
But what I'm saying is, on the question of self-esteem, a lot of people, including myself, we attribute our failure or our lack of success to something that may be like the size, in my case, of my nose, or because I have no nose. If I turn sideways, you can see there's nothing to speak of.
You do have a nose.
I put glasses on before right off. I have no bridge to speak of. I have a very, very small baby nose, right? And for years, I contemplated going to have like surgery to do something about the nose. And I guess maybe I just never got around to it. I never did anything about that. And after a while, I think I kind of got used to it and realized, I think there's way too much other work to do as well besides just the nose.
It's more like you've gotten what we're trying to promote through Wellness Insider, which is called body confidence. It doesn't matter because your confidence stems from the inside, not from your outside.
But I do agree that it's very real though, because you do feel something gets in the way of it.
Yep.
It's completely irrational, as in like I used to think I was fat when I was in school, right? And I really felt fat when I was in school until I looked back at the photographs of myself when I'm in school, right? And I go like, wow, this was actually quite a thin
version of you.
Well, I was actually quite a muscular boy as well.
We need to dig out those photos.
No, we don't really. But the fact is, now this is fat. So that's why I'm wearing a jacket.
That's why we have a table covering our stomachs
yes.
as well. We set this up when we were setting up. We're like, table, cover up the stomach. That's why we have the glasses here too. You get distracted. Yes. We've had it all planned out. This is called good presentation.
Right.
Right? So anyway, you were saying?
Well, I'm just thinking about the topic of presentation and why I'm doing it in Singapore. Because the idea is very simple. The people who work their entire lives, as in like up to this point, this is your entire life that you put into your career, into your business.
Yeah.
And I feel it's like you're running this long race. And what a pity if at that last chance to get across the finish line, when you need to convince that particular person, company, client, or customer,
Yep.
you just don't come up to that level, that point, and you just fall short.
Yep.
You know, so that's for me the kind of thing that I'm trying to avoid or help people avoid by getting good at presentation. So I work with people who have no experience with presentation. In fact, I had a client who ran this rather successful company, and he got to this level where at last he came to the point where he had to have this big event with his clients. And of course it was like, okay, what do I do with this particular situation? And everybody else, of course, is saying, yeah, you go and talk. But you know, I mean, compliments to him. He engaged me. We talked about what he wanted to say, what he needed to say. We talked about body language and a bit of confidence building. And we pulled it off. I mean, people were very impressed that he was able to do what he was doing. I'm not going to sell you the idea that he became Steve Jobs, you know, in that.
That took years of practice.
It takes some time. But I work that way, and I work with a global CFO of a MNC, and basically because he's, you know, CFOs, you handle the numbers and all that, you do very important stuff, but the rest of the board doesn't really understand necessarily that you're that hot, right? Until, you know, I helped him to kind of engage the audience a bit more at what he was talking about, could communicate more the value of what he was saying to other people. And I think in his organization, his value grew, his personal value grew, and I think he felt so much more relaxed about the idea of doing the next presentation. In fact, I think he was looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think that's very important because I have watched so many presentations by my ex-colleagues. I used to be in the finance industry, and they were brilliant. You know, I mean, they came up with figures and everything, but it always falls flat when they're up on stage presenting to investors. I always felt so sad for them because, and this is my question to you, how do you make facts and figures sound sexy?
Okay, you choose. You have to choose. The main problem that people have when they want to tell you a story is they want to tell you the whole story, every single detail. And because the burden is they know everything. So for them, everything is important. The trick is to go outside of yourself, look in and say, okay, well, that really isn't that interesting. And it's not something to sort of defeat yourself with. It's just to go like, you know what? If you want a way to deal with it so you feel better about yourself, you go like, oh, these idiots don't understand this. So let me try and use things that will excite these idiots. Right. So I'm not that I look at people as idiots, but I'm suggesting that if you want to filter off the ideas, okay, try do this, okay. Try and cut off the information where you think your mom isn't going to understand anymore.
Actually, that is true. Now that you say it, I think I've unconsciously been doing that. Yeah. Because when I used to present, a lot of people say that, oh, they got it, and I realized it's because. We were trying to reconnect just now. Yeah. Back to what I was saying, I was making my slides thinking that, hey, how can someone who doesn't know what I know understand what I'm saying? You know, it's like breaking it down and keeping it simple. Yes. So yeah, keep it simple. Yeah, that's good.
Also, I think learn to stop at the right time. I think, you know, I was just doing a session today teaching some executives at one of the universities, right? And a lot of them were saying the right thing and then saying a few more things after that. You know, so you know, it's also a skill to get to the point where you've made your point.
Stop.
Thank you.
So that's why we need coaches like you. Because sometimes some people just do not know when to stop. They will just go on and on and on and on. And also another thing that you work on is tone, right?
Well, I work on a lot of ideas. So, you know, I said I work with radio gurus, I work with script gurus, you know, so I've learned under Robert McKee, who is a guy who, he's actually mentioned in some movies where they talk about people wanting to write movies. So he's kind of it's an inception kind of thing. But he's a script doctor for Hollywood. I've studied under Aaron Sorkin, you know, and he's a great writer as well. And what I try to do is learn from these people things that you want to do to make things interesting, so that you have to kind of figure out what's going to happen next. Another guy who's really been very helpful for me actually is Dan O'Day. And you won't know Dan O'Day because he's from the radio world. But if you're in radio and you want to go to somebody who knows everything there is to know about radio, Dan O'Day is the guy who's done that. And I've spent like thousands and thousands of dollars on the various seminars that Dan O'Day organizes over the years in terms of like recordings and stuff, and learned from them. And I've learned ways to tell stories, to organize information, so that as the information is coming out, people are waiting for that next bit. So it's a bit like what's going on right now. As I'm talking, I'm unconsciously structuring what I'm saying in such a way that you want to hear what I'm going to say next.
Cool. And I think we are about time. Yes, we are about time. And see, I'm quite good at this time now.
She's just saying she's run out of questions.
No, actually, I think we can go on and on. That's my problem. You know, when it goes on Facebook Live, I can go on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
There was, I think, a few episodes where we ran to like 45 minutes because I was just so intrigued with the topic, and then we were like, oh crap, we need to stop now because people on Facebook, they have very short attention span.
Okay.
Right. So, yeah, just to summarize, we have Joe here, the presentation coach, telling us the tips about how to present with confidence, because this will affect your self-esteem. And as you believe, we need to present well, and in order to get on with our lives and show the world what we really are about. Correct? So
I'm going to say yes to that, yes.
So if anyone wants to be coached by you in terms of presentation, how can they reach out to you?
Well, you can send up a flare, you can send, you know...
Flares are very difficult. You don't have a particular one like Batman, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if that doesn't work, then you can just look for me on Facebook. It's Joe Augustin, and you'll kind of see my name and then my silly face that goes along with that.
Not
and,
the MC one?
You can use either one, because now there's an MC, there's MC Joe Augustin, which began his life as just Joe Augustin, and then I kind of transformed it. So, you know, as far as I'm a good presentation coach, I'm not following the branding coach part very well. You can, anything that looks like me basically on Facebook, you can just reach out and contact me.
Or you can just leave
works.
your comments below, even after this live video is over. Just leave your comments below, and I'll just tag you when it comes.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah. So thank you for watching, and tune in next week, next Tuesday, 8:30. I've got Kareen Lai, who's going to help moms learn how to balance between fitness and work and children and everything. Keep fit, although you've just given birth. So I'll see you guys next Tuesday, and thanks Joe for coming here today.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Bye.
And thanks for watching. This is where we turn you off. Bye.
Bye.